Okay, find the subtraction problem that is correct. You're looking at the math that was solved here, determining which one is accurate. We can start here in our 458, subtract 429. 8 subtract 9 is impossible, so we're going to regroup. That's 18 subtract 9. 18 subtract 9 does not equal 1, so A is out of there. B, 502 subtract 306. 2 subtract 6 is impossible. We got to go regroup. 12 subtract 6 is not 4, so B is out of there. Check problem C. 728 subtract 237. 8 subtract 7 is 1. That's good so far. 2 subtract 3 is impossible. Let's regroup. We have 6 tens and 12 ones. That's not right. Yes, it is. 12 subtract 3 is not 1. It is 9, so C is out of there. And then we're going to check D. 3 subtract 7 is impossible. We got to go regroup. 13 subtract 7 is 6. 110 subtract no tens is 110. 800 subtract 600 is 200. So D is our correct answer. Questions on that one? Okay. Next up, the Jones family is saving money for a trip to a water park in Florida. In March, they had saved $689. In April, they use $175 to get their car fixed. In May, they saved $456 more. How much money do they have for their trip? So this is a two-step problem. They started with $689. They had to spend $175 to get their car fixed. When we spend money, we're subtracting it from our total. Okay, so we're going to subtract this. 9 subtract 5 is equal to 4. 8 subtract 7 tenths is equal to 110. And 600 subtract 100 is equal to 500. So right now in April, they have $514. It says in May, they then saved, which means we're adding money. They saved $456 more. Okay, so 4 plus 6 is equal to 10. Let's regroup. 110 plus 110 is 2 tens, plus 5 more tens is 7 tens. And 500 plus 400 is 900. So they have $970. Option B. Questions on that one? Okay, 2 steps there. Next up, Becky left to go shopping at the time on the 1st clock. She returned home from shopping at the time on the 2nd clock. Which is a time she would have been shopping? Okay, so our hour hand for our 1st clock is after the 10. The minute hand is at the 5, 10, 15 mark. So she started shopping at 10:15. She stopped shopping. It's pointing right at the 4, and I know that because my minute hand is right at the top of my clock at the 0. So between 10:15 to 4 o'clock, Becky was shopping. It's a long shopping trip. I don't have that in me. The question is, which one of these times is between then? Well, 4:20 is later. 6:20 is definitely later. 9:30 is before 10:15, and 2:35 is after 10:15 and before 4 o'clock. So it could have been during the shopping window. So D is your correct answer. Okay, let's take a look at our next one. 4, eye colors of the class. How many more students, I apologize, have blue eyes than brown eyes? So we are comparing the blue to the brown. Our equation is blue subtract brown. So let's count up our blue numbers. Our scale down here shows me we're counting by twos. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 students with blue eyes. My brown eyes are 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 students have brown eyes. So I'm going to solve 12 subtract 8. 2 subtract 8 is impossible, so I'm going to regroup into 12 ones and 0 tens. 12 subtract 8 is 4, and 0 subtract nothing is 0. So our correct answer is 4 more students have blue eyes than brown. Questions on that one? Okie dokie artichoke. Last two. There are 5 rows of ducks with 5 ducks in each row. How many ducks are there? If I count these up, I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 ducks. So your answer should be 25 ducks, okay? Guys, I want you to remember, please, and listen to me very well. Google is goofy, okay? So if you put 25 and you forgot the word ducks, it said you were wrong, or maybe even vice versa. If you put 25 ducks with no space, it counted you as wrong, even though you had the right number. If you put 25 duck and forgot your S, it counts you as wrong. Listen to me. I know that, so I am smart enough when I grade your assessment on Friday that I scroll down and see what your answer was, okay? I know that Google is goofy, and if you accidentally forget a space or add a space or spell it wrong, you're going to get the answer wrong on Google. You're not going to get the answer wrong on your report card, okay? I promise you, I am smart enough to check Google, so no freakouts, okay? All right. Next up is our comparing fractions. This is our final one. We have 1/2 compared to 1/4. We have our greater than, equal to, and less than symbols. We have a model here. 1/2 is represented by this model. There are 2 pieces. One of them is shaded. 1/4 is represented by the bottom model. There are 4 pieces. One of them is shaded. We can see that 1/2 is larger or longer on that bar than 1/4. So 1/2 is greater than 1/4. Excuse me. Questions on that? Okay. And let's get ready to move on. We have been looking at your trial data for your Mint Mobiles. How have your cards been running? Okay. What we're going to do today is look at your trial number 3. So last week you filled out a chart that had 6 trials in it. I took your 3rd trial data, and that's what we're going to graph today. Okay. If you would please hop to your activities. You're going to see an activity floating at the top that says Mint Mobile Trial Data number 3, Data Collection Bar Graph. So we've done a line plot, we've done a pictograph, and now we are moving on to a bar graph. Okay. Go ahead and click on that Add Response, and let's take a look at our goal. There we go.
Today is the 3rd day of our Mint Mobile trials. Today you will be witnessing each car on the track. You will record the distance that each car has traveled, and then you'll create a tally chart where you will count up how many cars traveled each distance. Using that tally chart, you will then create a bar graph. Today you're going to show your knowledge of a horizontal bar graph that will represent and show the data from today's third Mint Mobile trial.
Okay, so we're taking a look at a bar graph with the data that we've collected. Okay, your data for trial number 3 is on slide 2. This is how each of your classmates performed on their third trial. I hope you're noticing that we have now improved quite a bit. On Monday, our ranges were between the 70s and the 90s mostly. Yesterday, we had a few lower hundreds. These trials got us up into the 150s and even a 160 and 180, okay? This is good news. What you're going to do is hop into a breakout room, and you guys are going to place this data in the correct ranges, okay? We've done this together several days. I've been able to watch your screen, and I think you got it. So I want you to independently complete this with your breakout room, okay? So there are 19 pieces of data over here. You're going to place them into the correct ranges, just like we have been doing the last few days. So I look at 84. 84 is between 70 and 89, so I place it there. Then I'm going to cross it out so I don't do it twice, okay? Questions on that? Okay, you have 18 pieces of data to put up with your partner. That's going to take you a few minutes to talk about and make sure that you agree. So I'm going to bring you back in about 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes to type the data into the correct chart. All right, let me stop my screen sharing. Okay, I'm going to share with you my screen. I want you to check over your work. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Ooh, I have one extra. Let's find my mistake, friends. Where is my mistake? Tomorrow. What is it? It's one what?
150.
150. What about it?
That one's the extra.
That has the extra. Okay, let's check there. We got 156, 156, 159, 159, 152, 152, 162, 162, 150, 150. Nope, that one's fine. Where's my mistake? We've got 181, 181. People are telling me in the chat. That'll make you tired, Josh. Let's see.
78.
78. Okay, let's see. 78. Is there, yep, 78. 78.
89 goes in the others. You have an extra 89 in the 90 to 109 slot.
Aha! There we go. Thank you, Miss Bram. 89 is in fact not between 90 and 109. It's right there where I had it twice. Okay, there we go. Found the mistake. Thank you all. See, even teachers make mistakes. All right. So this is what yours should look like. So let's go from top to bottom. In the top range, you should have 2 measurements, 43 and 41. In the next range, you should have 1 measurement, 64. In the third range, you should have 4 measurements, 84, 77, 78, 89. In the next range, you should have 4 measurements, 92, 94, 105, 94. In our next range, you should have 2 measurements, 127, 117. Nothing in the 130 to 140 range. Then you should have 5 measurements in the 150 to 169 range. You should have 156, 159, 152, 162, and 150. And then our last range that has data is 170 to 189, and you should have 181. Okay? That's where your data should be. All right. Slide 3 says grab a screenshot, put it there. So I'm going to grab my screenshot. You do the same thing. Why are we grabbing a screenshot? So that you don't have to flip back and forth between the slides, because that's a lot of time and effort. And as I have taught you all year, we like to work smarter, not harder. Okay, there we go. All right, yes, Terrence.
I like to work smarter, harder than smarter.
Well, good for you. All right, take a screenshot of your data from slide 2. Use the data to tally up how many Mint-mobiles went the distance in each range. So we are creating a tally chart, okay? Let's go ahead and get our tallies done. 0 to 49 had 2 cars that went that far. 50 to 69, there was 1 car that landed in that range. 70 to 89, there were 4 cars that landed in that range. 1, 2, 3, 4. 90 to 109, there were 4 cars that landed in that range. 1, 2, 3, 4. 110 to 129, there were 2 cars that landed in that range. There were 0 cars that landed in the range of 130 to 149 centimeters. In 150 to 169, there were 5 cars that landed in that range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in 170 to 189, there was 1 car that landed in that range. Okay. All right. This direction down here is different than what we've seen. It says circle the 5 ranges that have the most tallies. I want to hear from you guys. Which range had the most cars in it? Which one had the most? Leah.
150 through 169.
Excellent. This is our most popular range. Go ahead and circle 150 to 169. We are only going to be graphing the top 5 ranges today. We're not graphing everything like we have been in the past. So this is different. Okay, so 150 to 169 had 5 votes. What were our next popular ranges? Yes, Daniel.
70 to 89.
So Daniel, what you have just told me is the highest range. That is the highest range that we have, but we're circling the one with the most tallies. This only has 1 tally. There are other ranges here that have more tallies. I'm going to change that answer. Which ranges have the most tallies? Go ahead, Daniel.
It had the most tallies. 150 to 169.
Yep. And then what's the next one? So that's the first place. What's in the next place?
Oh, 90 to 109.
Excellent. Redemption. Thank you, Daniel. So that's a very important distinction, because a couple of you have gotten very confused on this. These questions are not asking you which number is the highest measurement. These questions are asking you about the ranges, okay? These are the ranges. See the title of our graph here? So we're talking about ranges. All right, so 150 to 169 had 5 votes. 90 to 109 had 4 votes. What else had 4 votes? There's a tie. There's a tie for the other one that has the number there. Go ahead, Vinny. Vinny, we couldn't hear you. Your computer was silent. Do you have headphones plugged in? Aha, he's putting it in the chat. Yes, 70 to 89. Correct, Vinny. also had 4 votes. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 circles. This says circle 5. So now we got to figure out what are the next 2 highest. William?
0 to 49.
Correct. 0 to 49 has 2 tallies in it, 2 cars that went that far. Terrence, what's the last one?
The last one is 110 to 129.
That is correct. Okay, so our graph is only going to use these ranges. These ranges are not necessarily who would have won first place. Okay, 189 right here would have won first place, but that's not what we're asked. We're asked which ranges have the most cars land in that zone. Okay, we're trying to figure out what's the most common in our class. Okay, all right, let's hop to slide 4. Slide 4 says use the 5 ranges that have the most tallies to create your scaled bar graph. We've already been given a scale here. Our scale is 2. Okay, why is it 2? Because what we're graphing is 2, 4, 2, 4, and 5. And we can get to those easily on a scale of 2. Okay, we're going to set up your graph. You are going to do the graph for your independent work. Okay, so let's set up our labels and then you're going to start doing it. Okay, so right here it says label and it's going sideways. Click inside of there and erase that word label. Click and erase. On this leftmost side of our graph, this is where we are going to put our ranges. Okay, ranges. Notice that matches our tally chart. Look what this says. Ranges. Look what we just typed. Ranges. See that? Let's look back at our tally chart again for our next label. This is the number of trials in the range. So guess what this is going to be? The number of trials in the range. Okay, let's change this label. Oh, I got to unlock it. The number of trials in the range. And I'm going to stretch that out so it's not covering up my bar graph. Okay, so all we're doing is transferring our data from a tally graph form into a bar graph form. The tally graph says ranges, the bar graph says ranges. The tally graph says number of trials in the range, the bar graph says number of trials in a range. Any questions so far on why we set up those categories? Okay. Over here on the ranges, I'm going to show you one so that you can get your kind of visual representation of how this graph is going to be set up. Let's look at our tally graph. Our first range that we circled is 0 to 49. So I'm going to go write that range over here where it says ranges, 0 to 49. If your handwriting isn't easy to fit in that box, go ahead and use the typing tool. Whatever is easier for you and whatever is most legible, meaning we can read it. Now, let's look at how many were in the 0 to 49. There were 2 trials in that range. I am counting by 2s. So that means I'm starting at 0 and going to 2, which means this whole box here is going to be shaded in. And I'm switching to that highlighter so I can see my grid lines and not cover them up. Okay. So this now represents 2 trials. We're in the 0 to 49 range because we're counting by 2s. Okay? This is a good start for you. Your independent task today is to finish this graph, create this bar graph. Okay? I hope you noticed your bars are going this way. You're going to have a bar graph there. You're going to have a bar graph there. You're going to have a bar graph there. This isn't our standard graph that we've seen where it's going up and down. We're going sideways now. Okay? Any questions on creating your graph? Yes, Daniel.
So for the first one that you just did we color in the second box?
You don't, because we're counting by,
It was 2.
you're counting by 2s. So if we're counting by 2s, this is 0, 2, 4, 6. So 1 box equals 2 cars. Okay, it's the scale. So that's why I did not shade in the second box, because the second box would tell me I had 4 cars in that trial, and that's not true. Okay, does that answer your question, or is it still confusing?
It does.
All right. Yes, Terrence.
So like can you show us like the half, because the one.
So on a half, if a whole box is equal to 2, what is half of 2 equal to?
Color half of the box.
You got it. Okay. Other questions? Okay. After you create your graph, you have 2 questions to answer. Based on your bar graph on slide 4, which range do you think a car will have to be in? Ooh, that should say to be in. Oops. Which range do you think a car will have to be in order to win the race? Okay, not which car won. I'm not asking you to tell me 181. That's the wrong answer. That's not a range. I'm asking you which range on that question. Okay, and then explain how you know. Yes, William.
How do we fit all of them in there?
You're not fitting all of them in there. That's why we circled the top 5 ranges. It says only the top 5 ranges that have the most tallies. Okay, so you're only graphing the top 5 ranges in terms of number of vehicles. Okay. Other questions? All right. Notice after the question, there's a big old stop sign. We are going to come back to this graph tomorrow. You're not doing all these slides today. Okay. You're going on slide 4, slide 5, and you are stopping, and then you are done.